Here is a side-by-side image of what we're going to be modeling over the next couple of videos. This is from the Fallout 4 game, and I took a screenshot of this dresser because I thought it looked kind of cool, and I thought it looked like something that would be reasonable for us to do. All right, mine is over here, and it differs a little bit from this as I'm looking more and more at it. I can see that, although it's hard to tell from the in-game shot, but this one looks a little narrower than mine, so I'll try to keep that in mind. And mine also looks like it goes a little deeper into it, but again with the thickness. And the handles, these are textures, and mine I actually modeled the piece, so I'm going to do it this way. But there's some similarities, hopefully, and also the tile floors they've got here. I'm going to show you how to create these tile floors with these tiles sort of staggered like they are here. All right, so we'll model this in the first video, and in the second video we'll try to do all of the texturing, although it might be that I need a separate video for that. Okay, so again, it's relatively easy stuff in Blender. That's usually what I look for, and stuff that looks cool and fun and is kind of reasonable to do. So here I am in Blender. This is an older version of Blender. By the way, I modeled this in version 4.2, so you could use either one, but I'm just pretty comfortable with this one. So I'm just going to press A and X and delete and make sure my move tool is on. I'm going to press 1 to look from the front, and I'm going to Shift A, mesh, and I'm going to bring in a plane. You could start with a cube, go into edit mode and rotate 90 degrees, G, and just drag it up like this. And then I'm going to come over to the modifiers, and I'm going to add a mirror. So I'll have this, and then we can get a sense of what we want to do. So we do want it a bit narrower, so I'm going to press SY and shrink it down a bit. Let's start by creating this curve here. So when you look at these things, you need to think, well, what primitive am I going to start with, if anything? I mean, you could just drag vertices around, but you know, you could have started with a cube and scaled it down. I started with a plane, so we're going to have to give it some thickness. But the next thing we're going to do really is to create this curve. So how are we going to do that? Well, we can come over here and select, that's the front vertex, and we can bevel that. And to bevel just a single vertex or a couple of vertices, it's Shift Control B, not just Control B. Shift Control B, and then we're going to pull. And you can see that it just splits like that. I'm going to roll the mouse up. Now I tend to use 5, but if I wanted a little bit rounder, I'm actually going to go for 7. So there's actually 7 dots in there. And if you look at the mirrored one, it might be a little easier. You can see how the curve is going. So let's just do something like that. Okay, and hopefully that depth is okay, but I think the height needs to be a little bit more. So I'm going to grab those bottom vertices and just pull them down like that. Okay, we're going to give this some thickness, so with it all selected, press E and just drag out in the X direction. Not too thick. I have a tendency to go too thick. These arms here, whatever you call them, something like that. And select the whole thing by pressing A, and then maybe let's move them closer together. It's nice to have the mirror on, do that in that way. Okay, so we've got that part. Let's go back here. We've got this. But there's a little inset in here. This piece goes in a little further. It'll do it on the other side as well. So I'm just looking at this, and again, I think I want to make it a little narrower. So I'm going to go into edit mode, press 3 for face selection, and select that back face. And just pull it forward a little bit. I do need enough room for a sort of like a shelf thing, the top piece, but it's not too, it's not too deep. So I'm going to do it like that and hope that it's narrow enough. Okay, deselect that. In 3, face selection, let's select that face, and it'll do it on the other side. We can't see it right now. And let's press I for inset and just pull in, or hold Shift and pull in to go a little bit slower. And just come into about there. All right, so we have this going around. Okay, I'm going to E to extrude and just gesture in a little bit, like about that much. All right, so far so good. Now, we need to do some curving of this, because if you look at the diagram here, you'll see that it's nicely rounded here, and it's rounded there, it's rounded there, and it's rounded there. So we're going to do that. The way I'm going to do that is press 2 for edge selection, Shift Alt and click up there, and that'll go all the way into the middle. Shift Alt and click there, Shift Alt and click there, and this part's already rounded. And we're going to round this. Control B this time, hold Shift, pull, and we don't want too many vertices in there, so I'm going to scroll my mouse back. There's just the two edges. 3, that's probably enough, really. Let's try that. Click Alt-A to deselect, go back into object mode. It's a little bit hard to see because those angles are so sharp. We're going to bevel that in a minute. Now that gives us a nice curve up here and down on the bottom as well. Let's go with that. All right, back into edit mode. Shift Alt and click this edge here that goes all the way around. We need to bevel that so light reflects off it. Control B, hold Shift, pull, and we had 3 before. We're going to keep those 3 like that. Now we can see it. If I select it and shade smooth, it looks a little odd. We're going to do a little bit more though on this, and then it'll look good. Let's go back into edit mode, deselect, press 3 for face selection, and select that face. And I want another edge loop. I'm just going to press I to inset, hold Shift, and just pull in a little bit more. That'll flatten that piece out nicely. And we still have to bevel these edges here that go all the way around. So 2 for edge selection, Shift Alt and click there, and that should go all the way around. All right, just move to a position you can see this. Control B to bevel, hold Shift to move slower, and pull just a little bit. Remember, it's a piece of metal, so you don't want to do that. I do have a tendency to do that, and I certainly did it a lot in the past. Just nice and sharp, and that'll actually help Substance Painter to put some edge wear on there, or at least highlights. Now it's looking good, but the shading is still a bit weird on it. First of all, let's come up here and make sure it's not red. Okay, so the polys are facing the right way. We can also, in the modifiers, search for, and you may have to search in a new version of Blender for where this weighted normal is. Click that. This version says I need auto smooth on. In version 4.2 and above, you probably just right click and choose auto smooth. But for me, it's down in here under normals. Okay, auto smooth. And now it looks better. So we have that. Good. All right, so we've got that part. It might actually be wider than what I've got. Yeah, I think so. I'm going to select this and I'm just going to pull it out just a little bit. Okay, my 3D cursor is still right in the middle, so let's go ahead and do this top piece here. All right. So you could use a cube. I'm just so used to using planes, so I'm going to select it and bring a plane in, and I'm going to pull it up near the top. And then I'm going to press 2 and select that edge and pull it in about there. Select this edge and pull it back and just sort of get a sense of where I think it should go. So maybe about there. I'm going to bring it a little bit higher. It's not perfectly flush with the top. That's okay. And it extends in. Let's see, the wireframe extends in. It doesn't have to extend in that far though. SX. Just underneath it. Like that. Okay, back into solid view. All right, let's give it some thickness by pressing E and coming down. Do something like that. All right, it does have a little bit of depth. Now, you're probably not going to see the back. And so let's start getting rid of faces we don't need. So press 3 for face selection. Select that. We're not going to see that face. Also not going to see the bottom face. Okay, you will see the front. So I'm going to X faces, delete faces. You're also not going to see the sides because they're embedded. So let's press the slash key to focus just on this. Come in and select that face and that face, X faces. Now this is a 90-degree angle. We don't want that. We want to bevel that. So 2 for edge selection and select that. And let's give it a small bevel. Control B, hold Shift. Just pull it apart like that, and that will already catch some light. Slash key to bring that other stuff back. It is debatable if we need a little bit of thickness on this, in which case we'd have to go back and delete some stuff. I'm going to try without for now. So we've got that piece, and we're going to add those designs on the top, those things there. I'm going to show you how we can make those. A couple of different ways. One way is starting with a UV sphere. So let's just press. Actually, let's select in face selection that top face. Shift S, cursor to selected. It's still in the middle, but now it's up there. So when we bring in our next object, it'll go up there instead of down there. All right, Shift A, mesh, UV sphere. But that's too many polys, so let's change that to say 16 and just leave the rest. We can go with that. Let's S to scale in edit mode. Remember, if you scale it in object mode, you're going to have to go Control A, apply rotation and scale, or apply whatever you've done. I tend to do most of my editing in edit mode. Okay, so what I want is I want to rotate this around, and I'll show you what I'm getting at. RX90. And we're going to use this curved part. It's too big right now, but we can still start with that. Look from the front, go into wireframe, zoom in, press 1 for vertex selection. Actually, let me move it up so you can see well. We want to delete. I'm going to press B and box select and drag a rectangle around all of this. We want to get rid of the bottom because it's going to lay flat on here. X, vertices. And you might miss a couple, so box select them again. All right, just like that. And I'm going to press 3 to look from the side. And I'm also going to delete the back of this. X, vertices. So I have that. I'm going to scale it down a little bit. I'm going to press G and I'm going to start pulling it down. And you can see my sort of piece right there. Looks like an L on its side. Bring that down. Now it's still too big, but we'll work on that. Shift Alt and click these vertices and press E to extrude. Pull them out just close to the 3D cursor because we're going to mirror it to the other side. Let's go back into solid view and see what we're getting. All right, it's time to scale it down some more. All right, it's pretty small. I'm going to push it down in, make sure it's making contact, something like that. Shift Alt and click there. Let's pull it again to around there. Let's go ahead and mirror it so that it's flipped over that way. Okay, add a mirror modifier in the Y, uncheck X. And they haven't quite joined, but that's fine. I just want to see how far. We don't want it going right to the edge. Want it something like that. All right, so that's good. So what we're going to do is I'm going to join these now. I'm going to turn on clipping. And when I pull it, they're going to hit, release, and you can't pull them apart. They've kind of clipped together. I don't know if that's the right terminology or not. Back into object mode. We're going to make a change in a minute, but let's go ahead and apply that mirror. Come back in, and that edge is still selected, those vertices. And if it's not, just Shift Alt and click. We don't need that. X, dissolve edges. Doesn't change anything. All right. What I want to do is I want this a little bit flatter. It sticks up a lot. So let's SZ, scale it in the Z. Flatten it out a bit, but keep some of that roundness. Make sure it's in. We can shade smooth. And that's what it's going to look like. It still looks a little bit big to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just press S to scale it globally, and then SY. All right, that's good enough. Let's drag it down here. Yeah, we can use that. Now, what should we do to get it to go along? Well, the array modifier is perfect for this. So go to Add Modifier, find where it says Array. We're doing it in the X. That should be the default. So let's just pull it apart a little bit and then just start adding the count. I don't care. I'm not gonna count how many are in the actual diagram. I'm just going to use, let's see, if I use 12, or can I get away with 11, and then just increase this. Hold Shift and pull it till it's roughly equal on both sides, and this is in the middle. And yeah, that looks pretty good. I feel like these are a little bit thick still. I'm going to scale in the X and then just pull them in a little bit. Yeah, hopefully that's going to be okay. Okay, next, let's have a look at this. We're going to need a piece that comes down like this and out. And then we're going to have this piece that's a piece of metal. So I want to just go like this and like this. And to do that, I'm going to take an edge from this. So I'm going to press 2 for edge selection and select that edge. and I'm going to Shift D to duplicate it and just pull it out of the way. P, separate by selection, means I now have this as a separate object from this. So I'm going to take this piece and pull it up, but I'm going to pull it back a little bit. This is getting at the thickness I was thinking for this before. Just going to pull it back just a little bit. That might be too far, we'll see. I'm going to press E to extrude and pull down. And I'm going to make sure that it's embedded. I think it is. And I just want to think about how far down I want to come. Comes down to near the end of that curve. So let's go to down there. Just use your eye and do whatever you think is right. Press E to extrude and pull it outwards like this. Now this doesn't come all the way out. It comes to maybe about there, because we're going to have the drawers, and the drawers are set back in a tiny bit. See this piece of metal here? It's not right at the edge. It's kind of pushed back a little bit. So we'll think about that. But we have that piece like that. Now, I'm not really happy with this edge here. And so what I would tend to do is this. I would select it, select that edge. And I would just press E to extrude and pull it in just a little bit. We only need a little bit, because now I can select that edge and I can bevel it. Control B, pull, just a little bit like that. And now I have a little bit of light. See the white there? In fact, I could probably take this and go GY and pull it back just a little bit. That'll catch shadows and light, and it'll look a little bit better, a little bit more defined. All right, at any rate, what should we do next? Well, we are going to want to bevel this edge. So select that edge, Control B, pull a little bit, just to make a little bit of a curve, and eventually we'll just smooth it, and we'll get a little bit of a gentle curve there. And that's going to be a piece of wood right in there. All right, so now we want to get this piece here. So to do that, let's see what to do. Can we just extrude down? We could start with that. Let's do this. E to extrude, pull it down in the Z, not quite down to the bottom, sort of have it like that so the feet are down there a little bit. Something like this. But I'm going to take this piece, select it in face selection, and I'm going to break it out. P to break it out. So I have a separate piece here. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull it back just a little bit. Oh, that's almost too much. Then I'm going to take that edge and I'm going to, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to extrude it back this way, just kind of like what we just did with the top there. E to extrude, I'm going to pull it back a little bit, and it's now sort of right at the same level as this piece. So I'm going to select it all and press GZ, hold shift, and just move it up just a little bit so it doesn't conflict. And then I'm going to bevel this edge. So I may, let's see, 2 for edge selection. Let's see how good we can do with our beveling here. I'm going to pull this. I'm going to roll back to I just have 2 edges in there and get that. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to Control R, but I'm having trouble, so I'm just going to focus on that with the slash key. And I'm going to come in. We don't need these sides. Press 3 for face selection. That, hold shift, that, X, faces. Now what do we have here? Well, you know what? We really don't even need the back. I'll keep the bottom for the moment. You'll see why in a second. All right, I've gotten rid of some faces. I want to sharpen up this because it looks pretty smooth, which is neat, but I want it to look a bit more sci-fi. So I'm going to Control R, click and drag. Control R, click and drag. Not right on top of the other line, just close. Now we see a nice white line and it looks kind of notched, if that makes sense. Now I've kept the bottom because, when you look at it, you might sort of see a bit of light. So guess what? It means we have to bevel. And I've just got the 2, and I could do the same trick if I wanted on the bottom. Select this, slash, might as well. Let's come in here, Control R, drag one close to here, drag another one close to there, and slash key to bring everything back. It's looking good. Let's just double check. this piece is flipped. Select it, and because it's just a single plane, we're going to Alt N flip. All right, so far so good. So I feel like I haven't gone as deep as I did before, which is good. We get sort of this light color and then this dark shadow. It means the shading is off a bit. That often means you'll need to add a weighted normal and auto smooth, and that'll clear that up. So for the doors, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to press 3 for face selection and select that. I'm going to build the door out of that piece. So I'm going to duplicate it with Shift D, S to scale, just start scaling it down. We're going to scale it in the Z, and I want to separate it from this piece. P, separate by selection. So I've got that. Go into edit mode, just move it out a little bit. Okay, so let's go have a look at the doors. They do come out quite far to the end, and they're rather narrow, or, not very high. So I think my height could be just SZ, just a little bit smaller. Bring it up near here, but let's SX. Hold Shift, pull it out kind of like that. And then you got to think to yourself, can I fit 3? If not, we can always make this taller. So let's start with that. We need to round these, so let's press 1 for vertex selection. We're going to bevel vertices, so it's Shift Control B, hold Shift, pull. That's 2. I'm going to go with 3 and just do that much rounding like that. Okay, select it. E to extrude and pull out to give it some depth, some thickness. Let's get rid of the back, and that'll fix up some of the shading for us. We can even shade flat for now. Select this face here. I want to create another inset, but I can't go very far. My vertices are going to start to cross. So what you can do is I to inset, pull it in a bit, and then we can do S to scale. S. The only thing about S is that it doesn't scale equally in the X and in the Z. So now we're going to go SZ and make it equal. All right. E to extrude, pull out a little ways, just like that. Now, let's fix the shading by beveling. In 2, Shift Alt and click this edge, and Shift Alt and click that edge. Control B, pull, and have 3 edges on there. Let's also do this one. Shift Alt and click there, and Control B. And now we have this nice drawer. Slash key, take this, and let's pull it back in. We got rid of the back face, so we're doing good. And yeah, let's just look at the distance up there. Yeah, okay, cool. So now all we need is a handle and some bolts, and we're done. So to do the handle, let's do this. Let's select the drawer and Shift S, cursor to select it. Bring my 3D cursor there. And Shift A, mesh, plane. Yeah, use a lot of planes. Scale it down. Rotate X 90. And pull it out. Press 1 to look from the front. Let's scale Z. Shrink it down like this, and let's go back. So it's near the bottom of the drawer. It's not in the middle, and it's pretty small. It's about 1/5 or 1/6. So let's first of all pull it down here. Let's scale it. Let's do something like that. I think that'll work for us. So we want to round this. We don't want it a big rectangle like that. So press 1 for vertex selection, and you got it. Shift Control B, hold Shift and pull with 3, just like that. And this time, let's just extrude backwards a little bit, because then we can just go X faces and get rid of that back face. We don't need it. Pull it in until it makes contact, like that. Press 3 for face selection and select that, because we need to bevel this edge. Control B, pull with the 3. Now you can use 2 if you want, and we've got that. We'll worry about shading in a bit. Okay, now we're going to create the handle, and since I'm not doing it in texture, I'll do it in geometry, and this is how. I want it right there, so I'm going to select that, Shift S, cursor to select it. Now my 3D cursor is right in the middle. I'm going to use another UV sphere for this, with 16, scale it down like that. Let's see what we want to do. Let's rotate X 90. Okay. Go into wireframe 1, look from the front. We're going to get rid of the bottom. I'm going to do very similar to what we just did. X vertices. We're going to get rid of the right-hand side right up to that tall line, X vertices. Just make sure that we get rid of, oops, any extras. That's why we're doing it in wireframe. And then 3 to look from the side, and we're going to get rid of the back, X vertices. So I'm left with just that piece like that. Okay, looking from the front in wireframe and 1 for vertex, I'm going to select all of these vertices, just this straight line. E to extrude and pull it out a little bit. We can get the size of this in a bit. All right, I'm going to drag it over here. I might make it a little bit bigger. And just like before, we're going to mirror this. I'm bringing it close to the 3D cursor. Let's go ahead and add a mirror modifier. It's going to be in the X. Let's just have a look at what we're doing. All right, you see? I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to pull it in a little bit. And I'm going to turn on clipping. And Shift Alt and click that and pull it in. And it'll attach like that. I'm going to go ahead and apply the mirror and come in and X dissolve edges. Don't just delete them, dissolve them. And we're going to have this. I may decide to take it in SX, scale it in a little bit. That'll change the curvature, but we're not doing it by very much. Pull it in. I want to give this some thickness, so I'm going to slash key to focus just on that. Come into edit mode, and I'm going to press E, click Alt S, and pull. And that'll give it some thickness. Once we have that, we have some faces on the back that aren't going to be seen. 2 reasons to get rid of those. 1, to lower your poly or your try count in case you're doing games or whatever. And also because if we're UV unwrap this, we don't need to take up extra space on the UV map that we want to use for texturing. So 3 for face selection. Select a bit of this, press Control X faces. What I do want to do, however, is bevel this. So in edge selection, number 2, Shift Alt and click. May take a couple of clicks. And I only need to bevel that edge, I would think. Control B and pull and give it a bit of a bevel. Shade smooth. Slash key to bring it back. Okay, now how similar? Okay, it's pretty big. I think I'm going to take this and I think I'm going to scale it in the Z to make it a little bit taller like that. And I'm relatively happy with that. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to join them together. That's fine. All right. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to join those together. So that's all one big piece. Then we'll have to UV unwrap that, but we'll do that. So now we can take this and use the array in the Z direction. So 0 out the X. And I want 3 drawers, a little bit of space. When we curved this, we may have curved it a bit too much. We probably should have curved it up. And from about that point, it went straight. All right. But ours is a bit curved more, but hopefully you get the idea. All right. Last thing we need to do is add a couple of bolts to hold this together, so I can do it with my 3D cursor there. That doesn't matter. I'm going to bring in a circle, and I'm going to make it 16. Yeah, these things always, you fiddle with them until you really get it straight. But that's why you need the reference image. I'm going to scale this down pretty small, make a face, and drag it in. And I'll start to make this. I'm going to extrude backwards. I'm going to X faces, get rid of the back faces. Select this and Alt-N, recalculate outside. It's probably flip. Select this top face and Control-B, and you can use 2 or 3. I'll use 3. And let's bring this in, and then we'll position, and then all we have to do is copy it. We can go ahead and shade smooth, Control-3. In fact, you can look in wireframe and see where it is, and I can see the box of where the drawers are there. So I'm going to do that, Shift-D to duplicate it. I'm just going to drag it aside. And then, let's make sure both of those, Control-J. Take that and Shift-D to duplicate, pull them down near the bottom. And so we've got those on there. And then let's just mirror. This should be right in the middle, so let's try it. Let's set the origin to the 3D cursor and then mirror to the other side. And we can apply that, and we can join it to there, in which case I may have something extra. Do I have anything extra? No, I'm okay. At any rate, that is our model, and hopefully it looks okay. Sometimes I'll look in that matte cap. It's good to look in different matte caps and check it out. And we're going to unwrap that in the next video, and we'll put some textures on it. So I hope you followed all that, and I hope you'll give it a try, and we'll see you in the next video.